Hello again, Struck Club. Today I'm finally bringing you an updated version of my beginner's guide, and this one will be split in multiple parts, and I've decided to call it the Ultimate Newbie Guide for Torchlight 3. There's two ways how you can skip ahead to certain sections of the video. One of them would be using the chapter sections on the search bar, on the seek bar at the video player, and the other way would be going to the description of the video and clicking on the timestamps. Without further ado, let's start by the greeting title screen of the game and what you can do there. The first thing you will notice when you load the game is that there's options for multiplayer and single player. First, let's talk about the differences. Multiplayer characters can be played solo, and the servers are saving your data, so if something happens, they can always restore your save. Single player, on the other hand, if something happens with your saves, it's on your computer and you can't recover it, then that's it. You're gonna need a new one, a new character, a new save if you lose it for whatever reason. Reinstalling something without backing up, crashing, data corruption, save corruption. So let's just talk about other things that are good for single player though, not just the bad things. The good things about single player are no server related lagging. So if your PC can handle it, then faster loading screens and so on. Keep in mind the downsides of single player are you cannot play a single player character in multiplayer, but you can play a multiplayer character solo if you want to. The good things about single player, there's gonna be mods. People will be modding the game, hopefully, like Torchlight 2, because the developers have already confirmed they would be opening the game for modding, and they have already confirmed that if they like certain mods and they don't seem overpowered, they might consider adding those to the live game, to the multiplayer game. So if you click single player, you get taken to the character selection screen if you don't have one, which is pretty simple. I'm gonna do the same but on multiplayer, just to show you. So let's go back to title. First things first, by the way, let's show you the options. Before the character selection, these are the options you can expect the game to have. So there's a UI chat. I don't use it. You can scale your UI as well. Not sure what that save zone adjust is. I might need to read some patch notes again. Then there's video settings here. And there's key bindings, which I've customized the way I like them. Okay, so let's now create a new hero and talk about the character selection. Now, on the character selection screen, well, which I'm not gonna show you until I click here, keep in mind you have 11, actually you have 10 character slots, but you can unlock extra 3 character slots, and considering the 13 character slots in multiplayer and the 13 character slots in single player, that's a total of 26 character slots, which is more than the 20 archetypes. The problem is you cannot have 20 slots when you are making when you're playing on multiplayer. If you want to have 20, one of each hero and relic, you don't have that. I've raised my concerns for this, that we have 20 archetypes between the classes and subclasses, but we don't have enough slots to have one of each. So if you, like me, are an autist with an L, you won't be able to get all of those heroes in one place. So you can see the difficulty is what you select first. Practice is basically the easiest mode. Normal is okay, it's not so bad, it's not so easy. Hard, now you see getting some bonuses. Gear work and movement speed. Keep in mind this movement speed is for the enemies. It says monster movement speed. The gear work is chance to find items, not chance to find good items, chance for items to drop. The more items drop, the more the chance to get a good item, but it's not directly increasing the chance of good items dropping, but indirectly it is. So the cap is 100% gear work, and this gives you 20. That's 1/5 of the cap. You also see potion work here as well. And so ridiculous is the hardest difficulty. That's what people who want to challenge themselves will pick. So keep that in mind. And 20% gear work is not bad at all, because there are maps that can give you 25 or even 50% gear work, and you would just need another 30% from your gear. The thing is, let's create a new hero. As I said, let's create a new hero and talk about the character selection. As you can see, you're greeted by this screen, and now you're greeted by the 4 classes. In a similar way, like in Diablo 2, you can select one class without even clicking it, and it would do some animation. And now let's talk about the classes one by one. I'm gonna talk about the ones I was familiarized with first in the alpha, when there were just those two, the Dusk, Mage and Forge, and then talk about the others in order of appearance through patches. Once you create a hero, you are greeted by Kennick, this NPC here, and he's gonna tell you that Travel Point, one of the outposts, is under attack and you need to help. And what you do is you have to fend off some goblins led by a very interesting NPC, which some of you would hate and want to fry, some of you would laugh and want to save. Are you team Fry Yapper? Are you team Save Yapper? Let me know in the comments section. I would love to hear what you would like to see happen to Yapper. Do you want to fry it? Do you want to save him? So after you fend off this wave of goblins and Yapper, you will notice certain things. You will notice that, well, Travel Point has changed, it has been saved, and you have some NPCs that you can talk to, such as a potion trader, there's General Grey, and there's Zaya, and there is also Yapper. And I'm not gonna spoil you too much. There's also a gambler NPC where you can spend your hard-earned gold coins for items. So I'm gonna now skip to the part where we're beating this hero and show you Travel Point in its restored glory. And here it is, we've just eliminated Yapper, we are getting a reward from General Grey, and basically she's putting us on a quest. She's putting us on a quest to go to Edgewood Bluff, but after you go to Edgewood Bluff, you can just immediately return to Travel Point. If you wanted to, you can return to Travel Point. If you're on an out, you can just go back, and then if you want, even teleport to your fort to get some out gear or whatever you might want to get. You don't have to go straight for your quest. Of course, if it's your first here, you might just as well go straight to the quest. You're not gonna have much gold coins to buy more potions. I'm gonna skip this to avoid spoiling you certain things, but here it is. You can go to Travel Point. And there's something important to keep in mind. Everyone gets, based on their platform, a new special pet. A pet that they can claim like this. You can get that pet, you can swap your current pet with it, and remember to pick the skills you want to use. If you have certain skills unlocked, you can put those in the pet. So here we are at Travel Point. It's Act 1's outpost. You have a pet trader here, so if you want certain pets, you can talk to this NPC and change the one you've got to something else. As I mentioned, there's a gambler NPC which is here. You can gamble. Certain items require you to be a certain level to gamble for them. And here is the potion trader, where you can buy potions of your choice from the so far 3 existing. And here are some of the quest NPCs. The general's there, Zaya is here, and you have Yapper here. There's also an NPC that sells white items. If you accidentally sell your gear, you can get the white item, which you can see is level 1. And that's kind of it. From there on out, you are moving on to complete the campaign. And the campaign is not bad. Although once you've done it 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times, you wish you didn't have to do it anymore on your outs. I really hope they introduce some sort of a system where you can make an endgame only character that can skip the story once you have already completed the story on one such character. For example, you complete the story on Dusk Mage, you can make a new Dusk Mage that doesn't have to. You complete the story on a Railmaster, but you don't on a Sharpshooter, and you make a Sharpshooter, well, the Sharpshooter still needs to complete it at least once. I hope they make some sort of a system like this. So the Dusk Mage as you can see, it taps the power of Ember by balancing the forces of light and dark. You can see it's got skills like Holy Bolt, Radiant Blast, Holy Fury, Absolver, Luminous Run, Light Spear and Consecration. I will be making newer videos for the showcases of the skills of each class. It's just gonna take me some time to level up heroes to gather enough Respectacles to be able to show you everything in detail. On the dark side of things, there's Unholy Bolt, Dark Spears, Shadow Step, Energy Spike, Damnation, Entropy and Spirit Well. My old showcases for the classes are a little bit outdated. There have been changes to certain tier 1, tier 2 or tier 3 bonuses, certain changes to some behaviors of the skills. So again, I will be reworking those eventually. Now you can see apart from those you have a subclass which you select after making your hero. So let's just create this one. Let's just call it guinea pig because it's for the video. And let's just select some faces, select some hair, see the onion head. And now what I want to talk about after this will be the subclasses, and I would rather talk about them later. So let's move on to another hero. Now let's talk about the Forged. The Forged is, as you say, a true mechanical marvel. He has the soul of a genuine hero. It's that bow of metal, that steel bow. It's a bow of steel that can do a lot of damage in certain ways. The thing is, it's kind of an underpowered class right now, class skills wise. If you compare it with a relic and become very strong, if you focus more on the relic side of things, the melee forged I like. The melee forged doesn't need too much of a change, but the ranged forged some of you may not like much, might feel like it's weak. In general, it's not that bad. It's just that some of the forged legendary items are not working the way they should work. For example, cannon damage it doesn't exist yet on legendary items that proc off of cannon damage skills. Certain legendary items make certain bonuses kind of unnecessary because they're that same bonus but better. So the tier 3 bonus of the skill, for example, like rapid fire tier 3, it becomes kind of useless. Things like Sonic Pulse are great. It's great. So you have something like Poison Dart that can trigger poison and be a good synergy with Poison Bane builds. Although right now the Poison Bane builds are not that great on the Forged, but there's a summoning item coming soon, a great sword that would allow us to summon 9 goblins that can probably be added to the Forged. The Forged is the only hero that doesn't have a summon. So Slug Shot is nice, Rapid Fire is nice, Shotgun Blast is nice, but they're kind of whacking. They feel that little bit of extra spice to make me wanna play them. I really love Shotgun Blast and I love combining it with Furnace Blast. And there was a bug with Furnace Blast where it wasn't triggering certain legendary effects that give you heat 25 or 50 back, and I really wanted to make a build where I'm using Furnace Blast to vent 50 heat and then that gives me 50 heat back with the Mountain King wheel and its set bonus. So if that is fixed, such a build would be amazing because you can get 25 damage to burning enemies. And from this one, if you take it to tier 2 just as a passive, you can get 25 damage to vent skills. This is a vent skill. So you get 25% damage to burning and 25 to vent skills, which is 50% extra damage if they're burning and you're using a vent skill like Furnace Blast to do damage. Combine that with the 40% damage from Sonic Pulse, that's 90% extra damage. It's not bad, it's actually nice. And you can build hit very quickly with servo-driven uppercut, 12 hit cost. You can build hit with shotgun blast, 13 hit cost, or even with slug shot, 14 hit cost. And even this helps you with building hit, and this you want probably on any forged build. Ramming robot most likely would want on any forged build. Keep in mind this thing, 20% damage reduction in melee combat, makes your default 50% to 70%, and the cap is 90%. So you still have 20 more percent, which you can get from, for example, Skittering Shoulders or a Blood Drinker Relic. You've got decent things like Fracking Strike here, Cyclone Mode. You've got interesting things in the Bro side of 3. I really love Bro forged builds. I also love hybrid builds as well. But yeah, the forged is definitely a great thing to consider, the Railmaster. He is the man with the train, the guy who can make the earth tremble beneath your feet. He is a guardian of the frontiers. The Railmaster can engineer a solution for every problem, and one of those solutions will be a train that can have the lead car, 2 more cars between mortar, shotgun, flamethrower and shield, and then shocking rounds can upgrade the built train car. So you have 3 train cars with the option to upgrade the lead one, the basic train car. You cannot combine a shield car with shotgun, which I think is a bullshit way of doing it. I hope the developers would reconsider it and allow us to combine flamethrower with mortar for a flame build and shotgun with shield for a close range, stand next to your train to get damage next to your train abilities, affixes on your skills. They should just make it a limit of 2 cars out of those 4. Pick any 2, stick to them. Right now, again, you can either do mortar and shield, mortar and shotgun, or flamethrower and shotgun, flamethrower and shield. So yeah, there's kind of that annoying part where you can't combine certain cars together, even though they would be the obvious choice to combine them, like mortar and flamethrower. The strongest ones I think right now would be combining flamethrower and shotgun. That's great. If you want survivability, shield car is nice. They did fix a bug with it, which people could exploit to indefinitely keep a certain bonus. But most people were not even noticing this and using it. But yeah, flamethrower and shotgun car combined with the build train and maybe shocking rounds are not bad. Ghost train is a great skill. It's a great skill. I wish it remained as a slammer skill to benefit from slammer bonuses on slammer builds. But we've got new slammer skills such as Torque Swing, for example, to fill the gaps. Now, slammer is what I really enjoy from this guy. As much as I know how much damage a train build can do, especially with the Bane Relic, because trains count as minions, I prefer playing the AoE warrior, the AoE master, the slammer, MC Hammer in the house. You've got Pound, you've got Hammer Spin, you've got Torque Swing, and you've got Spike Drive as melee skills that can trigger the melee damage reduction. This skill can make the enemies vulnerable to take 25% additional damage, which goes up to 30 with the tier 1 bonus, which is 30% more damage, and this one gives you another 65% more damage versus stunned, blinded or slowed, regardless if you're using the skill as an active. You can just use it as a passive skill and not put it on your skill bar. This combined with this is 95% extra damage. Don't forget about this. Those are must-have skills. This one as an active tier 1 at least, this one as a passive or active tier 2 is great damage for that guy. I'm not a big fan of Torque Swing. I really wish it was a skill you charge, like hold the button, charge it and do a leap attack, rather than what it is right now. And to be on charges, the same way Hammer Spin is and other things. It's not bad, it's okay. It has a very interesting synergy where it can pull enemies next to you. I'm a big fan of Spike Drive and Pound as a combination, and in certain builds I'm a big fan of Flying Picks. If you want a lot of hits per second, for example on an Electrode build, Flying Picks can be nice with summons. You can also use Flying Picks like my Ancestral Bane Doctor build on summoner builds. With those ancestral spirits, it's pretty fun, and Hammer Spin's extra 50% damage reduction by itself can cap you. You get 50% damage reduction by hitting with Hammer Spin and 50% damage reduction with the tier 2 bonus, which puts you at 100, but of course you get 90 because 90 is the limit. You can get 100% damage reduction. No completely immortal heroes. The next character, the last one that was added, was the Sharpshooter. They are cunning, they are nimble, and they are willing to bend the rules to acquire the tools they need. They can use bows to unleash a number of special attacks, but they also can use any other weapon, like every hero, except the class-specific weapons. And the bow is one such, so it's her class-specific weapon, which allows for ranged basic attack builds. The Digitus on the Dusk Mage is mid-range. This one can be long-range basic attack builds. So on the precision side of things, this is where a lot of damage comes. You've got tight grouping as the skill you start with. You've got an amazing, easy to learn and play, probably meta skill, targeted strikes. You've got Onslaught, which is not that good to level up with because it puts you in danger, because its range is much shorter than it needs to be. You should be able to cast Onslaught to enemies that are much further than now. I think they need to double the range of this skill. You've got Explosive Arrow, which is the skill that has the biggest reach in the game, I think, from skills that you place on a target and you don't shoot just endlessly. So from those skills here, the biggest reach from those precision skills is Explosive Arrow. It has a fixed travel time now, so regardless whether you shoot it next to you or at the other end of the map, of the screen, pardon me, it will travel for the exact same duration, unlike before, where the longer the distance between you and your target, the longer the travel time. Now it's fixed travel time. I think they said 0.5 seconds, but it looks more like 0.8 or 1 second. You've got something like Scatter Shot, which with the right item gives that skill extra double damage for the price of double cooldown, which means you get a 2-second cooldown, which can be reduced by 10% with this skill's passive, which makes it 1.8 second cooldown. It's great. I think it's great, but not to level up with. At least I don't like leveling up with Scatter Shot. I like using it, switching to it once I've got the wingspan, and it's fine. And then when you're geared up, Heartseeker, kind of underwhelming for this cooldown to do this much damage, but you can auto-cast this skill. You can level it up and just auto-cast it, but the problem is with auto-casting it doesn't trigger the tier 1, 2 and 3 bonuses as far as I know. The tier 2 bonuses of course doesn't affect Heartseeker, it affects every skill, so it's still gonna work. But the tier 1 bonus is not of course gonna work because you don't care about the ammo cost when auto-casting. And the tier 3 bonus, I don't think it's gonna work when auto-casting it from a certain item. But apart from that, Heartseeker is a skill that is a filler skill, a skill that you use on a cooldown. It's not gonna be your main spammy skill. This can be a main spammy skill, this and this can also be a main spammy skill. This one to a certain extent can be if you don't double its cooldown. It could be. But this one is something that you use as a filler in between rotations. And Revolt. Revolt is another amazing skill of the Precision 3. And if you max it out you get a second charge. It doesn't work the way it says though. And that's a bug. It says restore all your ammo and reset the cooldown of all your adventurer skills. It's not gonna reset the cooldown of certain things, such as Scout's Bones and Sacrifice to Ghouls. It will reset the cooldown of Shasta and of the Goblins, and I'm trying to remember whether Rizzy's Fate or Curse of PP got affected by this reward. Most likely they don't. And I'm looking forward to the developers fixing this, because this is hurting the DPS of certain builds where you really want to reset the cooldown of Scout's Bones or reset the cooldown of Sacrifice to Goose to apply the damage again, that vulnerability. And speaking of Sacrifice to Goose, it's great. The special part about the Sharpshooter is you can use Adventurer skills to apply a certain bonus to your next 3 precision skills. This lets you mobilize, this lets you fear targets. It doesn't say it, there might be a little bug here where you don't see the preview. This one lets you apply the curse, stacking it up to 2 times for more damage reduced on the enemies. This one lets you fire 3 in a cone ghostly eagle missiles with another 2 with the tier 3 bonus. This one lets you get critical hit chance to increased by 50, but the cap is 40. So right now, even with this skill, you can't get more than 40% crit chance until they fix this. Scout's Bones lets your next 3 precision skills apply Scout's Poison for 6 seconds, which is pretty nice. And this one lets you summon extra 3 goblins. Extra 3 goblins, so every time you use a precision skill, after this one summons an additional goblin. So you get 2 and then you get another 3 for a total of 5. And if you have the goblin brute, you get 6. And if you have a rifle that gives you 3 goblin gunners, you get 9 goblins with this skill to fight alongside you. So that's kind of the gimmick. And as I was about to say, Sacrifice to Goose applies 20% damage vulnerability, and with the bonus increase it's 25. Oh no, it applies 25% damage vulnerability, and with the bonus from the tier 1 it goes up to 30. And the same way Blasting Charge does, from 25 goes to 30. Shasta is a skill you would really want to use. This is 50% increased damage to taunted enemies, but Shasta also taunts. So that's 50% from this to taunted enemies and 30% with this when you make the enemies vulnerable with that skill. That's a total of 80% extra damage to taunted and vulnerable targets. And you can get extra 10% to damage to blinded, swallowed and stunned, and apply slow with this one. But yeah, in general the Sharpshooter is nice, and it's probably the easiest one to play for new players because it gets damage from the get-go. It gets a good skill such as precision targeted strikes very early on, and you can combine it with some relic skills such as chaotic strikes, for example, or sword smash, and do decent damage very early in the game and have a good build. Enough about the classes, let's move on to the other parts of the character creation. So here is the screen where you select the relics. The next thing you select is your relic, which is a subclass. You have Bane, which is poison and staff synergy. Staff synergy, when you're using basic attacks with this skill, would give you extra chance to summon certain floating spectral enchanted staffs, and those enchanted staffs can attack enemies just like a summon, like a minion, and benefit from minion damage bonuses such as Miasma and Puppet Master can give you. And this will help you regenerate relic energy quicker. And the way relics work is you have a new resource called energy. As you keep killing stuff or doing damage to stuff, you get energy. Certain skills would cost energy. This one costs 50, or this one here costs 25. This one can be reduced by 12.5 and even further under even 10 if you have some items that give you relic energy cost reduction. So every relic has 150 cost and 125 cost skill. Then there's this skill, which is an aura or a buff that stays around you for as long as you have energy. It continuously drains the energy. Every relic has one such buff. There's a template in how relics are made to make them easier to to balance and to make it easier to add new relics, because it's a very nice, good system. You know, you've got that 50 cost skill, you've got that 25 cost skill, you've got the continuous drain skill, you've got 5 passives, one of them being a proc tied to a certain weapon type and giving you something, another one being a defensive skill on a 20-second cooldown that gives you some sort of a buff for a duration. Then you have the big relic activation skill. This one requires you to spend a total of 200 relic energy before you can activate it. So as you're killing stuff and generating energy, eventually you need to spend it. And if you want to activate this skill more often, you might want to spend relic energy with skills like Spectral Skider or Venomous Maw. If you want to keep this buff more often, you're gonna be activating this skill less, but you would have this extra damage buff, and each of those skills for every relic gives you 25% damage to you and your allies. That means you won't be activating this as often, but you might want to consider some ways where you're activating this skill and then spamming the other ones and then activating this one. So this is all about summons. This can give you summons, this can give you a summon with even more summons. This can give you summons, this boosts the minion damage, this also boosts the minion damage in various ways. First, the tier 3 bonus is 100% damage, then the skill itself is 25% damage to you and nearby allies, and the minions are allies. And combining it with this one, it will not be a bad combo. Every relic has Energizer, which gives you up to 25% relic energy charge rate, and you can get another 10% from passives on every class. Every class has one tier 2 bonus for one skill that gives you extra 10%. Combining that with some gear, you can get it to like 50, 55, maybe even 60% relic energy charge rate. So yeah, that's it for the Bane. Now, after I talked about some of the important things, let's talk about the Blood Drinker. So the Blood Drinker again has the 25 relic energy, but this time you get it earlier. Then it has the skill that costs, actually this one shouldn't cost 25 energy, this one should cost 50. Maybe that's a bug, maybe it's unintentional, but this used to cost 50. In any case, you have the energy spending skills, you have the aura that buffs you, and this a buff for the allies. This one also heals, whereas Bane provided defense. This one provides damage reduction, and it's great. But there's one thing I don't like, it's the knockback on melee heroes. I wish you had an option to switch off knockback on skills like Sacrifice to Goose and this skill. I wish there was an option to not just disable the knockback, but revert it to a pull. It would be amazing to be able to switch between knockback and pull based on what your build is about. Grouping up the enemies or spreading the enemies. In most builds you would want to be grouping them, believe me. Blades for cutting is the passive synergy, and it is for sword. Keep in mind you can use all of those passive skills. You can use all of those passive skills with the class specific weapon. From the 4 classes, 3 of them have a class specific weapon. The Dusk Mage has Digitus, the Railmaster, Railhammer, the Sharpshooter, Bow. The Forge doesn't have a class specific weapon, it has a cannon, and the cannon is not a weapon. It does cannon damage, not weapon damage, so unfortunately the Forged is left out on those and can only use whatever the relic requires you to. In this case, sword. This is great, it's nice, I've tested some builds with it, it's a fun skill. You've again got the procs like Rupture, you've got Bloody Chalice as well, and you've got this one, Bloodletter, which increases the bleed chance, and Bloodletter, and in any relic, even in the Bane, you have things that could help you proc certain things. For example, this one can proc poison bolts, and this one can proc ruptures, and if you don't have chance to bleed on your weapon, you can choose this one to help you bleed the enemies. You've got the Energizer, you've got the big relic skill, you've got Drain, and you've got Bloodseekers, which are great skills, and even Spinning Blade, which is definitely nice. So this is for survivability with some damage. It's not gonna give you as much damage as Electrode and Flaming Destroyer, but it still gives you decent damage. Then you've got Cold Heart. Cold Heart is with a synergy with the rifle and pistol, or your class specific item as a basic attack. It can summon an ice golem, it can do a frost blast, which is shooting icicles in front of you in a cone-wide shape. It's got something called Frost Skin, which gives you the ability to ignore one hit every up to 35 seconds when you max it out, which can get triggered, like this breaking point gets triggered by this. So it's pretty decent, it's pretty good, but the thing is this one has such a long cooldown that most people don't consider it worth investing into Frost Skin and Breaking Point. I'm hoping to see this cooldown reduced, or this changing in a way that it would make sense to only be able to proc it once every 35 seconds, excluding Ice Shield. Ice Shield is one of my favorite skills. So even though the Cold Heart is a little bit underpowered, you have Ice Shield, Snowstorm and Cold Front that can be good. And it's a decent relic, but it needs changes. This skill is underwhelming. This skill too big of a cooldown. This skill underwhelming if this skill's cooldown is that big, because it only depends on that skill. Ice Storm has something that hopefully they fix. The tier 3 bonus, you critically hit frozen enemies while Snowstorm is active, does not work. It only increases your crit until the cap, which is 40. Past the 40% crit chance cap right now, they're figuring out ways to allow certain things to go over the cap limit. And this is one of those. When this is fixed, you're gonna have some nice synergy with tier 2 Cold Front, maybe with the Novas, with things that freeze. So now I'm not gonna talk much about Cold Front and Cold Heart, so let's just move on to Electrode. Electrode is one of my favorite relics. I actually maybe might say it's my favorite relic to use. I just love skills like Lightning Strike, they're amazing. And you've got things like Shocking Display and Tingling Sensation that go very well together with that. You've got the Mace Synergy. You've got something that gives you attack and casting speed, and casting speed affects almost every spell that you can hold the button and it would keep casting. So it could be Absolver, it could be Rapid Fire, Rapid Strike, Slug Shot, the Spin to Win skill, Cyclone Mode, anything that you can hold your button and cast it, that's not a basic attack, benefits from casting speed. So channeling skills benefit from casting speed. Even certain skills that are on a charge can be cast faster in between the two things while you have casting speed on. This can be good for attack speed and casting speed builds, because this gives you 50% of both. This gives you 50% attack speed, and if you max it out 25% attack speed, and if you max it out 25 cast speed, for a total of 75. The thing is, attack speed is capped at 60%. And you can get items with 20-30% attack speed, so you might wanna consider ignoring Conjure Electrode, or just using Conjure Electrode, but not stacking it together with 1000 volt bursts, just using them at separate times and rotating them if you wanna go basic attacks. And for basic attacks, I love this proc. I will be making builds centered around this. I love Walkaway Storm, and I really love Chaotic Strikes as well. While leveling up Chaotic Strikes is one of the easiest ways to level up a class with the Electrode, regardless which class. And Walkaway Storm is very good even if you keep it at level 1 while leveling up and eventually max it out. It is great, I love it. 1000 volt burst is also amazing, and again, one of my favorite things, the best things I strongly suggest maxing out on any build with this relic is Lightning Strike. Builds with faster attack per second, casting speed builds, zealot builds, benefit greatly from Lightning Strike. So consider this on Spin to Win Forged, on Bunches of Punches Forged with Rapid Strike, on Rapid Fire Forged, on Railmasters with the Train where you have a lot of attacks, Railmasters with the Flying Picks, again a lot of proccing, Summoner builds with a lot of summons, every summon can proc this, consider that as well. There's many things that are good with Lightning Strike. Now let's talk about Flaming Destroyer, the pure damage relic. This one might be about random damage by procs. This one also has procs with Firestorm and Magma Burst, but it has a lot of non-randomized damage. Sword Smash, Blazing Pillar, good damage. You also get good evasion. You can max your evasion and block chance at 40%. This one gives you block chance. This one gives you evasion. So you get evasion from this and you get evasion from this. You also get novas from this, and on a melee build it's going to be an interesting synergy. You get Summoning Smash, which is a decent damage, amazing damage, and when you max it out there's a lot of things that can proc certain things. And Ignition Source to help you with bird chance if you need it. And then there's the synergy for Great Swords, which for basic attacks builds could be very fun. It also helps you regenerate energy. In general, all relics are good. The Cold Heart not as good as the others, because it's neither as good defensively as Blood Drinker and Bane, nor good offensively as Electrode and Flaming Destroyer, and it's not even that good when it comes to crowd control because of certain things. So hopefully they rework the Cold Heart. It's not bad, but it's mediocre. It's mediocre right now. It doesn't have that oomph that you want on a relic to make it shine, but it will if they rework it a bit. For now there's like 3-4 skills I would use from the Cold Heart, the rest I would just ignore, which is a sad story, but hopefully they revisit it soon. Now after you select the relic, you would be given the option to select your difficulty. But before that you have to select a pet, your trusty companion. So you select a pet, you name it, you pick some color palette, eventually later you find more pets. And then here is the difficulty choice I already showed you at the start. You can select that difficulty and then you are good to go. Now let's talk about the build variety. Many of you are wondering how much build variety and as a result replayability there will be. I can tell you I can think of at least 160 builds across this game. Now let's give you some numbers. Where does 160 come from? First of all, you know there's 4 classes, and you know each class can go with either of the 5 subclasses. This gives us 20 as I call archetypes. So you can see this hero can be with Bane, Blood Drinker, Cold Heart, Electrode, Flaming Destroyer. I can take any other hero and again have the choice to have either of those. Bane, Blood Drinker, Cold Heart, Electrode, Flaming Destroyer. So that's 4 classes, 5 subclasses, total of 20 archetypes. You have 4 heroes with 14 active and 42 passive skills tied to them. So each hero, each class, excluding the subclass, has 14 active skills and 42 passives. The passives come from the tier 1, 2 and 3 bonuses for each of the 14 actives. So that's 14 times 3 passives. So for each class and subclass combo, for each archetype, you get 19 active and 62 passive skills, including the tier 1, 2, 3 bonuses you can get from the active skills of the relic, such as this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one, and including the passives from the relic, which are 5, and including the passives from the class and the actives from the class. For each class, excluding the subclass, so for each class, counting all subclasses as an option. So if you consider that each class has 5 subclasses, the options grow. You get 14 plus 25 active skills. 14 from the class, 25, which is 5 per relic, 5 relics, 39 active skills. And then when it comes to the passive skills, you have 42 plus 5 times 5 plus 5 times 15, which is 42 plus 25 plus 75. Where does 42 come? Well, earlier I said 42 is the passives a class can get excluding relics. Then you have 5 times 5, which is 5 times the 5 passive skills of the relic for the 5 relics, and then 5 times 15, which is 5 times the tier 1, 2 and 3 bonuses of the 5 active skills. So 42 plus 25 plus 75 is 142 passive skills. So combine this times 4, 39 active and 142 passives times 4, because you get this much variety for a single class. So if you take another class, the same number of options are available. Of course, the relic side of things will be exactly the same, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be different, because you're going to be combining those with different skills. So altogether, 39 active skills, 142 passive skills for every class you choose. 4 classes to choose from, definitely a lot of options. I can think of at least 8 builds for a single archetype, and as I said, there's 20 archetypes between class and subclass, so that's at least 160 builds I can think of. Of course, it's much more than you can make. And keep in mind, there's new items that are gonna be game changers. There's a great sword that would give you an active skill to summon 9 goblins, which you would want to consider. That means you're gonna have to sacrifice some things from your skill bar to put this there. They're changing certain shoulder armor, such as the Skittering, Arc Powered and Woods Beast, to actually not trigger when you use the big relic skill, which is those skills here, but to actually give you a skill that you put in your skill bar and use on demand. And then there's the new item set, the Fazier's set that you're only gonna be getting from the Fazier's dungeon while doing that type of content, and it would be available for every class. So what legendary powers that would do would affect the number of builds you can make. So right now I can think of at least 160, but maybe I can think of at least 200, 220. The possibilities would keep growing as the game grows. So as long as they keep the end game diverse and keep expanding it, the build diversity is nice. They can keep adding relics. The system is designed in such a way that it's gonna be easy for them to add new relics. Adding a new class would require more development than adding a new relic. So you could expect probably new relics to be added more often than new classes. I would still like to see new classes added, at least maybe 1 class every year, year and a half, or every 2 years at least. I would like to see new classes making their way, but relics and subclasses would be something that they can easily add. For example, let's say they add a new act, and the new act maybe has enemies that are cold, and also a new type of element that could be anything. It could be, for example, shadow damage, although we already have light and dark damages, so it could be anything. You can think of whatever element, earth damage, for example. They could add earth damage and they can add an earth relic, and that could be interesting. They can add nature damage, although poison normally is nature. But yeah, the possibilities are vast, and I hope you look past the boring and at times repetitive end game and the lack of variety in the end game, and focus on the variety of builds. And if you like making builds, hopefully the developers think of the people who love theory crafting to make leveling up outs easier. Or at least not having to do the story on outs, and being able to get power leveled in maps and dungeons and stuff like that. Hopefully they can make this, because right now if you want to level up an out, you have to go through the whole story, which is 8 to 12 hours of grinding the story quests, just so you can unlock the Fazier's dungeon. So enough about the build variety. Next we're gonna talk about something else. This guide is split into 3 parts. Part 1 was this, part 2 and part 3 would talk about other things, so if you want to learn about those things, you could watch those. If you want to get notified when I upload more content, you can subscribe to my channel, hit that bell button, and if you want to be a member of the Struck Club, you can even click on the join button, which is entirely optional. Thanks again for watching the video, keep it cool, and until next time from me, goodbye.